Well, good morning, everyone. Today we'd like to talk about the City of Tampa's hurricane re-entry plan. I know it's a bit early in the year for that, but we think it's important that we get a jump start on this whole plan so that people have a way of thinking this through before the actual hurricane is upon us, and we're able to think things through with a calm mind. So first, I'd like to bring up Mayor Buckhorn so he can kick everything off. Mayor?
Chief, thank you. As many of you know, 2 years ago we were facing what could have been one of the most catastrophic natural disasters that this community has ever faced. Hurricane Irma, but for the grace of God that veered that storm 20 to 30 miles to our east, potentially could have wreaked havoc upon this city that we love so much. That was a Cat 2, Cat 3 storm that potentially was going to be a direct hit on our city. Now, for the last 8 years, we have trained hard to prepare for what is inevitable. Although we have not been hit with a direct hit in over 90 years, it is going to happen at some point, and we need to be prepared. And so as a city, and particularly our first responders, go about this as if every day was game day. And we practice and we practice and we train to be ready for what I think will be inevitable. Now, it will not occur on my watch. Hurricane season will begin when I am gone this year. But it is important that we learn the lessons from other jurisdictions that have lived through this. Part of what we do is look at every other event that has occurred around the country, look at what worked, look at what failed, look at the decision-making process, look at the chain of command, look at the deployment of the resources, and figure it out how we can do our jobs better. And part of that is preparing for the storm's arrival and then preparing for the aftermath of the storm. What happens in between, we have very little control over. That truly is in God's hands. But we can prepare for what happens before, and we can prepare for what happens afterwards. What we are announcing today is based on lessons that we have seen and lessons that we have learned from other jurisdictions, some of whom did it well, others who did it not so well. And this particular process and this particular program will involve finding ways to get people back into the affected areas quicker and safer. It allows us to identify, particularly our first responders, specifically the police department, who should be in the areas that have been affected by the storm and who should not. It will help us protect vandalism and looting. It will help us identify unscrupulous contractors who will descend upon an area that has been hit by a hurricane. It is going to be a tool for us that will allow first responders to help protect the neighborhoods that have been affected and devastated, to allow neighbors to get back into their neighborhoods quicker and start the rebuilding process, and it will allow for a much more seamless environment. The others are going to talk about this in a bit. This is what this tag will look like. This is a tag that will allow you re-entry back into the affected areas. It is a tag that I need everyone who will get this to hold on to. This is your passport back to your house, back to your neighborhood, and this is what will help us identify those who should not be there. And we will deal with them appropriately. But Chief Dugan and Chief LoCicero are going to talk a little bit more about the specifics. But this is one more tool in our post-hurricane disaster kit. It is important, and people need to pay attention as this storm season descends upon us. Chief?
Thank you. Nick LoCicero, our fire chief, will be up next. Chief LoCicero?
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. As the mayor stated, it's a pleasure to be here this morning, and this is a plan that the city has been working on for a number of years in various shapes and fashions. As he also stated, considering what we've learned over the last few years with respect to hurricanes and storm events in Florida, it is very appropriate that we implement a system of this kind to help the citizens and our community. So it just adds another layer of preparedness to our city, and we can certainly utilize that to our advantage. A couple of concepts that I want to bring forth that are very, very important. The program is focused on the most vulnerable populated areas following a severe weather event or disaster that requires evacuation. So they'll go on to explain the different levels in the tag system, but it is that's what it's centered on. Evacuation zones A, B, and C represent about 50% of the most densely populated areas that are located south of I-275. So we're really concentrating on how to help people in those coastal evacuation zones in order to be more efficient and proactive with these measures of evacuation. Emergency management priorities for rescue and recovery are great. And we need to ensure, as the mayor said, that we have the right people in those areas, that people that should not be in the areas are not there, and the people that do need to be there are allowed to be there. And this tag system allows for efficiency to do that. It will help law enforcement tremendously to ensure that people that need to transit in and out of the area, once it is deemed safe enough, can do that freely. It will reduce frustrations of citizens having to wait to be checked in, because this certainly expedites the process to their advantage. We'll be sending out an initial batch of tags, about 70,000, that the chief will talk about here, but to businesses and residents. So you need to really watch for those things in the mail. Do not throw them away. Please don't. The program is new. We hope to never need it, but this is the initial stage of this, talking about the evacuation zones that we just mentioned, and we can't ask you enough to please spread the word and do not throw the tags away. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Nick. Next, I have Linda Redmond from the CEO of Tampa Downtown Partnership. Linda?
Thank you, Chief. So as you've heard today, the partnership has partnered with the Tampa Police Department and the city since 1994. We formed the Downtown Security Network at that time. We had a system in place for reentry. This is streamlining that process. We will continue to be a partner with the City of Tampa and the Tampa Police Department on this process. And as the mayor showed you, please, when you get these tags, make sure that you put them in your car, put them in your glove compartments, and leave them there. So this will be your re-entry back into the downtown area. We know downtown is part of that vulnerable area, so we want to make sure that everybody is taken care of. As the mayor said, prepare now. You do need to prepare now. You can prepare at any time. It could be not only a hurricane, but it could be a disaster of any kind. So this will help you streamline that process. And please take note and put these in your car when you do receive them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. So let me reiterate some things. First, I'd like to thank Mayor Buckhorn for his leadership. You know, as he stated earlier, he won't be mayor during hurricane season. He easily could have kicked the can down the curb, so to speak, and he didn't. So there will come Monday, we will have about 70,000 hang tags going out. They're going to look like this. You'll be able to see this again later. But it's very important that we have everyone take a look at these envelopes and that they do not throw it away. It is not a junk mailer. It's very important that they take a look at that, and then we're asking that you put it in the glove box of your car. Do that now so it doesn't get lost, so that when and if a hurricane does come, it's already in your glove box, it's already in your car, and you won't misplace it like I would. If you put it in your glove box now, you'll be able to find it, you know, down the road. And so in the event, if we have a major storm, significant flooding, and we have to shut down an evacuation area, and make sure it's all clear before we allow people back in, you'll be able to use this hang tag to get back into your neighborhood. Now, it's not citywide. It is only in the evacuation areas, and that's very important. And what it does, as it stated earlier, it makes it easier for us to get people back into their neighborhood and it allows us to know who belongs and who doesn't. Now, if you don't have a hang tag, you will be able to get one through the tampagov.net website, and so you will be able to get another hang tag if you need it. But it's important that people, like I said, take a look at the mailer, they open it up, and they take the hang tag and put it in their glove box so that they will have it when they need it. Does anybody have any questions?
Can you go into more of the neighborhoods that you are focusing on?
Okay. We have Harbour Island. We have our the business area. We have a residential area, and there's 4 different types of hang tags. And so basically, it's anything south of the interstate, anything that is a evacuation area. You know, the reason, you know, we don't call it a flood zone, that's insurance purposes. It's an evacuation area. If we're going to evacuate due to a storm, then you will need one of these to get back in there. Now, you will be able to get one after the storm, but it's going to take a very long process. It's going to delay your re-entry. Our goal is to get everyone back into the neighborhoods as soon as possible, because you are the ones that live in that neighborhood. They will know who belongs in there and who doesn't. And so this is just a way for us to get everyone back into their neighborhood so they can get their neighborhood cleaned up, check on their home, check on their neighbors, that type of thing, and make sure that everybody's working together. It's just a safer, quicker way for the police department, fire rescue to work on this and get everybody back in their neighborhoods. Okay, thank you.